A skull. Small. It belonged to a child. It's been in the ground in South Africa for a little under 2 million years, and there are two holes in the back of it. Neat ones. Round. A precise distance apart, punched clean through the bone. For a long time, nobody could say what made them. Then, someone found the answer lying in the same patch of dirt. A fossil leopard's jaw. And when you lift its lower canines up to those two holes, they fit. Exactly. 33 millimeters apart, both of them. Which means we know what happened to this child. A leopard took them by the head, the way a cat carries something home, and dragged them up into the dark. Hold on to those two holes. We're coming back to them. And when we do, they're going to mean something worse than they mean right now. Because this is the thing we've quietly agreed to forget about our own past. We weren't only the hunters. For most of the story, we were also the meat. And every day, the sun went down on us anyway. So, what were they actually afraid of out there in the dark? Not ghosts, not yet. Something much simpler and much closer. Try to feel the shape of the problem. You are an animal that hunts by daylight. Your eyes are built for it, sharp, color-drenched, brilliant in the sun, and almost useless the moment the light dies. Even now, walk into a dark room and it takes your eyes 20, 30 minutes to properly adjust. 20 minutes of being effectively blind. Now think about who you share that landscape with. The leopard sees you, the lion sees you, the hyena sees you, and hears you, and smells you. Their eyes were built for exactly the hours yours were not. Every single night of your life, for hundreds of thousands of years, the world flipped over. And every advantage you had went to them. Sunset wasn't the end of the day. It was a handover. That's one thing, but here's what makes it so much worse than just being afraid. Because you could hear it. The dark isn't quiet. That's the modern fantasy of it. The dark is full of noise. Grass moving. Something big shifting its weight. A cough in the blackness that is definitely not a person. And your ears are still working perfectly, which is the cruelty of it. You get all the information that something is out there and none of the information about where. So you build the only wall you have. You build a fire. And a fire is not warmth, not really. A fire is a wall of light, a small, trembling circle. You and everyone you love sitting inside it, all night, every night, for 1,000 generations. Somebody stays awake to feed it, because if it goes out, the wall comes down. And just past the edge of that circle, a few feet from your back, is the thing you have never really seen. Just the black. And two eyes in it, catching the firelight and blinking. Now, here's the part where this stops being a story about scared cavemen and starts being about you. Because there's an obvious objection, isn't there? Fear of the dark is irrational. It's the thing we grow out of. The kid's nightlight, the closet door, the check under the bed. We treat it as a bug, a leftover glitch in a mind that hasn't caught up with the streetlights. But you can test that. Actually test it with numbers. Because lions still hunt people right now. In Tanzania, researchers put together the largest data set of lion attacks ever assembled. Nearly 500 attacks on villagers over 20 years. More than 2 out of 3 were fatal, and the victims were eaten. So they asked a simple question: when? And what came back wasn't random. It wasn't even close to random. The attacks track the moon. Here's the logic, and it's chillingly tidy. A bright moon is bad for a lion. The antelope see it coming. So on a full moon night, the lion goes hungry. But then, in the days after the full moon, the moon starts rising later and later, and it leaves a window, a stretch of true blackness right after sunset. And into that window walks the only prey still out and about in the evening: you. And that is exactly when the attacks spike, the days after the full moon, between sunset and 10 at night. Hungry cat, dark window, and a slow, soft, night-blind animal that never learned to see. Sit with what that means for a second. The fear of the dark isn't a glitch. It's a schedule. It is one of the most rigorously correct instincts our species has ever produced. Survival software, written by predators, tested nightly, in blood, for 2 million years. The people who felt that cold drop in the stomach when the light failed and moved a little closer to the fire are the ones who lived to have children. The ones who shrugged and wandered off into the black are not your ancestors. They're not anybody's ancestors. You are, quite literally, descended from the ones who were afraid. And that's why they invented the monsters. Because here's the strange, sad little truth about every demon and night spirit and shadow thing in every mythology on Earth. They didn't come out of nowhere. They're a memory. They're what happens when a mind with no word for leopard tries to describe something it survived. Something that comes at night, that you cannot see, that takes the weakest one, that leaves nothing behind. Every culture, on every continent, independently invented a thing that hunts in the dark. They weren't imagining it. They were remembering it. Now, the 2 holes in the skull, because there's something we skipped. That child was found in a cave. And a cave is a strange place for a child to end up until you know that a leopard drags its kill somewhere quiet to eat it, into the trees, into the rocks, somewhere out of the light. Which means that skull is not just evidence of a death, it's evidence of a habit. That's the part that gets me. Not one leopard, one night, one unlucky child. A pattern, something that had been happening for so long and so reliably that it built up on the cave floor like sediment. Bones and bones and bones of our ancestors, stacked in the dark by something that came back for more. That's who was standing on the other side of the firelight. So, tonight, when it gets dark, properly dark, what will you actually see? And here's the last strange thing. You won't. You can't. Because for more than a third of the people alive on Earth right now, the Milky Way is simply gone. Erased by the glow of our own lights. Not faint, gone. 80% of North Americans have never once looked up at the sky their ancestors navigated by. In 1994, an earthquake knocked out the power across Los Angeles, and in the blackout, people began calling the authorities, frightened, urgent, to report a vast, strange, silvery cloud hanging over the city. It was the Milky Way. They had never seen it before. That's how far we've run from the dark. We didn't beat it. We just drowned it in light. We built a fire so enormous that it covers whole countries, and we sleep inside it, all of us, every night. And we have almost entirely forgotten what it was for. Because the fire was never about the warmth. The dark your ancestors knew, the real thing, the total, weightless, black nothing that begins 6 inches past the last of the flame, You have probably never once stood in it. Not for a full minute. Not in your entire life. They spent half of every single day inside it. And the small, cold thing you feel when the last light goes off and you are alone in a room, and something in you insists, quietly, stupidly, that you are being watched, that isn't a childish thing you failed to grow out of. That's the oldest part of you, still on duty, still keeping watch at the edge of a fire that went out 10,000 years ago. It doesn't know the leopard is gone. And in fairness, for almost all of your history, it was right.